Welcome to my channel. My name is Emerald.
And my name is Jazz.
Today is Weirdo Wednesday, where we bring you slight facts, sort of facts, maybe facts, kind of facts about things we use, say, or maybe even do, that we say, what is that too? So Jazz is our expert researcher here, and she gets all up in the business of these topics. What is today's topic?
Today's topic is phrases, common phrases, stuff we say that has a meaning, but the meaning kind of has nothing to do with what you're saying. Like, what is dollars to donuts? Why are you betting someone dollars to donuts? Or, why are you throwing away the baby with the bathwater?
Yeah, we're throwing the baby away at all, but whatever.
Well, today we're going to hope to solve some mysteries for you on some common sayings. So the first one I want to start out is, I bet you dollars to donuts. So this one I actually just heard like on the Wendy Williams show last week. I'd never heard anyone even say that before, but it's apparently kind of a common thing. Its denotative definition is to kind of make a sure bet on something. You know, like, oh, I bet you dollars to donuts. That's gonna happen. But according to todayifoundout.com, the original meaning it's pretty much the same thing, but it was first documented in an 1876 edition of the Daily Nevada State Journal, and likely it's just an evolution of a saying that came before it. In the 1840s, it was come to say, I bet you dollars to dimes. So that makes a little more sense because at least they're both forms of currency, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, but I guess the donuts, maybe someone thought that'd be a bit funnier or was a bit catchy because donuts were really perhaps rising in popularity around that time, I don't know. But that's one supposed origin. It kind of just adapted to the more modern lingo of the day. So that kind of solves your dollars to donuts mystery. A little bit. So, throwing that darn baby away with the bathwater. What's that all about? According to wisegeek.com, it's a saying that's actually attributed to our German friends. Its first documented use was in a book by author Thomas Murner, and it even had an illustration with a woman literally throwing a baby away with the bathwater. Strange. This book was written in 1512, so it's an old saying. Over 500 years old to be exact. And the reason for this saying, it's alleged that baths were more of a nuance than a help back then. For some reason, people considered baths to be unsanitary. I guess maybe you're kind of stewing in your own juices.
Oh, dip.
But more than anything, baths were pretty inconvenient because you used to have to draw water from the river, fill your bath up, heat that water. It was a long process, so because of this, many families shared one bath. So the head of household would bathe first, which would be the father, then usually the mother, then the kid, and the younger kid, and finally down to the baby. And by the time we got to the baby, that was some dirty, murky bath water, and you might not be able to see the baby in that bath water, so you had to make sure there were no babies before you threw away the bath water.
That's kind of crazy. Like, I understand, you know, the man works hard, you want him to bathe first, but if he was out, like, working on the railroad all the livelong day, like, you know, people did lots of, you know, industrial work and labor. Yeah. So why wouldn't you clean the cleanest person first and clean the dirtiest person last? I mean, I understand the respect part.
Yeah,
but
that's it more than anything, but,
whatever.
It's still weird. The origin story is as weird as the saying itself.
Very true. People
don't throw your babies away. Alright, next saying. You know why we're so close?
Because we're sitting next to each other? Because we're sisters? I mean...
Yeah, because blood is thicker than water.
Oh, it sure is.
It is, but technically, according to its original origins, I shouldn't be saying that to you since we're actually blood related.
No?
No.
Okay.
According to an article on womensday.com, the saying was actually used to denote a bond between two people who weren't related. So this saying was attributed to so-called blood brothers, either those who perform blood rituals like those done in the Middle East, or soldiers of war who literally shed blood together on the battlefield. And the reason why blood is thicker than water refers to non-relatives is because it evolved from a saying around 3,000 years ago that originally went something like, "The blood of the covenant is far stronger than the water of the womb." Meaning that it's possible to have a closer bond with someone you're not related to than someone you actually share the same womb with at some point. So it's more a symbolic thing, which is actually kind of beautiful when you think of it in that context. But, you know, over time, people just attribute it to blood and sharing a bloodline. So it excludes outsiders nowadays and refers more to literal family. But I like its original origins too, because DNA doesn't always determine who your real family is. So
Show don't.
Shows don't. So it's a pretty cool context to look at it in its original way. When receiving word from the wise, you may have been told something like, "A bird in the hand is worth more than two in the bush," meaning count on what you have, not what you expect, or something that looks like more far off, but that's not guaranteed. So how did this phrase originate? According to an article on phrases.co.uk, its origins lie in falconry. The first documented use of this saying was in John Ray's 1670 handbook, A Handbook of Proverbs. And it referred to falconry, as I said, which was a common practice of the day. And
What is that?
Falconry, which is when you have a falcon and you train it to go
Oh, okay, because I was like,
hunt.
does that have to do with the birds? And you like say, "Hey, come back to me." Fly on your arm.
Yes, because it's literally a bird in, or actually on, your hand.
Uh-huh.
The falcon has always been and still is a very valuable bird, and it's worth far more than those two in the bush that would probably be its prey. So, it literally had to do with birds, but now it can refer to just about anything that you actually have and that you're sure of its value. Final phrase that I want to get into. Have you ever heard someone refer to their dearly departed as saying, "Oh, he or she bought the farm"?
I have.
Yeah. So what's a farm have to do with death anyway? According to Snopes.com, there are actually a few possible theories into the origin of this phrase. So the first is that it had to do with soldiers, and when they would die, the GI grant that their families would receive would be quite a big amount, and it would be enough to settle mortgages or afford them new properties. So oftentimes the families literally bought farms or other land with this money. So if the deceased bought the farm, it was with his life, technically. It's kind of a sad way to look at it, but interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, another common belief is that it referred to, once again, soldiers who had these plans once they got out of war to maybe buy a farm, settle down, have a family, get married, and if unfortunately they were to pass before doing so, their comrades would say, "Well, he bought the farm early," meaning he were at peace, he ended up where he was inevitably bound to. In this case, not a literal farm, but, you know, the next phase of life. It's kind of a weird context. I'm not sure about that one, but who knows. And the last is that, for some reason, I guess a lot of fighter planes were crashing into farms. Because that's an alleged origin. Another one of this saying is that when a plane would crash into a farm, the farmer would sue the state, or the government rather, and would receive earnings. So the pilot bought the farm because he crashed into it, and obviously not many people survive plane crashes, so the pilot died and bought the farm for the kind family or so. I don't know.
Well, alrighty then.
Very, very strange stories. Just about as strange as the sayings themselves, but hopefully that satisfied a little bit of your curiosity.
Well, thank you so much for those interesting facts. Now we're going to get into the next portion of this Weirdo Wednesday, which is the joke of the day. Jazz creates them, we laugh at them, with her or at her, as long as we're getting our laugh on. Alright, what's that joke?
Alright, here's a little something for gags and giggles. Why are fingers your most useful body parts?
Because they do a lot of work for you?
They do. They're strong, they're dependable, and you can always count on them.
Oh, pew, pew, pew. I get it. You can count on them and count on them.
Until you get to like 11 past, then
you just start all over again.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that lovely old joke for this Weirdo Wednesday. We do this to get you over the hump of the week. Thanks for watching.
Keep it weird.